Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I've got a video about Pocket Dimension. It's already inside the game, limited time event. It's going to start here. It says 9 days. Depending on when you watch this video, it's going to be less than that. So it's right around the bend. You're going to have to start thinking about this. And it's basically kind of like a Dark Dimension sort of thing, but it's only available for limited time. It says limited time rewards. And you could see here, they show possible rewards. You're not going to get all these. I'll show you more about that in a minute. But there's some of the rewards in here are pretty good, like fully crafted teal gear pieces, which are very nice, that sort of thing. Okay, so a lot of good stuff in here that you're going to want. But the issue is there's always a catch. And there's always a catch when it comes to Scopal Next. And the catch is that they've got a trait here called Resolute. You can go to it by going here and going to your filter and selecting Resolute. You'll see these are the characters that you have to use in there. It's a very limited set of characters. And so the idea is, as I said recently in a video, the purpose of all these new game modes by Scopely is to try to incentivize us, urge us, cajole us, push us to build a wider roster. Because they don't want us to get by with just the 20 characters we're going to have in DD5 or the Doom Raids or whatever. They want us to go beyond that. They want us to build, because that they think will equal money, money, money. And so what you're going to have to weigh is how much you want the rewards versus building some of these characters. Now, what I will say is one good thing you can consider is that there is a Scarlet Spider event coming up. This is also in the game. You can go here and you could take a look for yourself and see that you can actually, there's a free-to-play unlock here where you can get your Scarlet Spider unlocked for free by spending training modules and also by spending campaign energy. I will say, if you're somebody who has a lot of cores stocked up, this is a good time for you to spend additional cores to get for campaign energy that you can use without spending training modules. But otherwise, you're going to have to level up some characters. So, that might work for you where you use this as an opportunity to level up some Resolute characters, but that's up to you. What I will say is we're going to look at a couple things today. I'm going to show you, first of all, some resources you may not be aware of to give us more info on this game mode, and then we're going to talk a little bit about getting ready and building up your roster for Pocket Dimension. So let's go right here. I'm going to take us first into MSF.gg, and you may not be aware of it, but there's actually a map. If you go to the map section here at the top, you can go to the Pocket Dimension and actually see the map. So you start here in the beginning, and it looks like you get a Scarlet Spider shard, 150k gold, 1 training orb, and 5 silver promos. And you work your way through. The final boss appears to be Ultron. And then it shows you at the bottom what the rewards are. So there's the first run. These are your guaranteed rewards here. Fairly modest. Then you get 8 random items in here. So seems like a lottery. Like some people are going to be unlucky and get 8 orange crafted. And then some people who are more lucky might get 8 teal crafted. And then you're going to get 500 random catalysts that are either orange or teal. The second run is a lot better. You're going to get 55 Scarlet Spider shards. That's great for everybody. 150 gold promos. That's a huge prize in the context of this game. And I will tell you, it just goes to show you more and more they're really loosening the gold promos. They really started loosening these. These used to be so rare. You get maybe 1 or 2 upgrades a year. Now they're really throwing them out there more than they ever have before. Not saying they're like candy, but they're definitely throwing them out there more for players. And then, basically the same amount of guaranteed and random items and a little bit here of extra catalyst set of 500, 625. But this is worth pursuing for basically any player. The question is just the cost. And so if you've already got everything maxed out, well, this will be no problem. You'll just plow through it. And there'll probably be a race or something of sorts for Pocket Dimension, which is kind of cool. But, the real question for a lot of you is going to be, what do you build up, right? So let's talk about that. And let's talk about the characters that you may want to use for Pocket Dimension. So I think you want to look at this from 2 different perspectives. One is, which characters from here can you build up that will have value to you in other game modes? That's one way of looking at it. And the second way of looking at it is, which characters are going to help you the most within Pocket Dimension. I think those are two different things. So, for example, if you're looking at what helps you in other game modes, for a lot of characters, for a lot of players, they're very focused on raids. If you're focused on raids, and I know a lot of you are, then obviously these two web warriors are going to be a good investment. Miles and Scarlet Spider, right? Because you're going to use them in raids anyway. Now, I will say, obviously, most people are using Cersei either, probably in Arena and in raids, right? So this is a character people are going to have built. So you could imagine having a team built where you have Cersei, Miles, Scarlet Spider. A lot of you will have multiple man built up, maybe for the Adam Warlock legendary unlock. Some of you may have Omega Red. Some will not, depending on how far along you are and this and that. He's only had, I think, a single pass thus far. One alternative out there is Shuri. I will say that Shuri performs very well in the tech nodes of Doom. I run her every day. My tech team for Doom is, is this one right here, and it does very well. But let's face it, I don't think Shuri's going to be hanging around here too long, right? I mean, this is a short-term investment. Her health is just not that large. If you look at my Shuri, her health is 356K. Even at Gear Tier 16, 6 red stars, right? Totally maxed out. If you look at Omega Red, he's got over 1 million health with the same red stars and the same gear tier. So I guess what I would just say is, buyer beware there, but she does have use in raids. If you're interested in War, well, obviously Omega Red's going to have a lot of value there. He's more of just a guy you can throw in on the boss node in raids, but on War, he's very valuable. And he'll be the MVP here. So if you have Omega Red, I think it transforms everything. Because if you have Omega Red, you can imagine a team where you bring in Omega Red, Cersei, the two web warriors, and Cersei will be your cleanser. She'll cleanse the debuffs. And then, you can bring in, let's say Shuri for, defense, defense up, that sort of thing. Now, one thing, and that I could thank some of the folks in my chat, like Matt, for telling me this, is when you go into MSF.gg, we can actually look at some of the opponents here and see what they look like. So let's go into the first node and see what we got. So this actually doesn't seem too hard if it's correct. If this is really all it is, then this shouldn't be that hard, at least on node 1. Well, let's look at the final node. Are they all going to be that easy? Okay, they get harder towards the end. But wow, this doesn't seem super tough to me. This seems like the sort of thing that I'll be bulldozing through. Let's see. Let's look at the second node. Okay, this is something that almost, not to say almost all players, but a lot of players are going to have no problem. Even newer players are going to be able to make some progress here. It looks like they wanted to have some nodes where you could make at least some progress here. Let's go back to this map. Trying to get MSF.gg going in a good spot here. It's a little wonky. We go Pocket Dimension. Okay, let's go to this. Is one of the last nodes here. Let's see what this one looks like. I will say that this is having some problems here, but I will just say, here you go. And this is only Gear Tier 13. If this is true, this is going to be a cakewalk. Unless the second run is a lot harder, which it could be. In other words, the second run gives a lot greater rewards, and maybe that the second run is way harder. Like it's all teal instead of orange gear, because otherwise it's going to be a cakewalk for a lot of players, okay? We'll see. I will say that... Scopely screws things up, and MSF.gg is pretty reliable, but maybe now that Scopely acquired them, who knows? So anyways, let's get back to looking at the teams. I will say when you look at some of these characters, they don't seem super scary at all, even if they were in teal gear, because, yeah, there's some things to watch out for, but there's a lot of what I'll call legacy characters here. So let's just take a look at more generally what characters we'd want to look at. So We talked about Omega Red, Cersei are obvious sort of ones that a lot of people are going to want to bring. Miles and Scarlet Spider have a lot of value in raids, so a lot of people are going to be tempted to bring them. Shuri, we talked about. Misty Knight, I have used in the past in Doom raids and tech. She does have an ability block, which can be useful. She's got a turn 1 ability block. And then here you can kind of, if Doom is next to somebody else, you can stun the one next to Doom and then try to get the ability block there. So she kind of has 2 ability blocks. And she's a war defense character. She's certainly high meta there. You have these 2 uncanny characters, Magic and Storm. I do think Storm can come in and nuke a lot of stuff. But on her own, Magic doesn't do much, okay? She barriers X-Men allies. She can, make sure Phoenix summons, but of course that doesn't help you here. Once again, barriering X-Men allies, clearing ability block from X-Men allies. She's very much tied to that team, giving charge up to the self and X-Men allies. So to me, I think the idea they've had with putting these 2 characters is if you have a huge Storm like I have, you bring her in with Magic. She gets all these charges. You might even be able to charge her up on an earlier node, like bring her into node 1, charge her up, and then just bring in Storm to nuke everything in the final node. That sort of thing. Possible. Down here are what I'm going to call some budget choices. So Yondu's actually been reworked to be quite good now. He's got a lot of cool stuff on his kit. But he's going to be a war character, pretty much war offense character. So, keep that in mind. But summons, which they have definitely here. I'm going to show him on MSF.gg. I've never actually built this character, so you can't see mine built up. But you can look here and see the kit if we don't have more of a scrub here on MSF.gg. Here we go. So you could see that, for example, he has 2 summons here, which are very nice. And then, clearing positive effects can be nice. On turn, copying positive effects from enemies, and then clearing the positive effects from the enemy. So he says he steals positive effects from the enemy. I do think that this is good, and this means the AI is going to focus on your summons, and the summons now have been reworked, and they're quite good as well. Ravager Boomer has a turn rewind. Ravager Stitcher has health steal. So I think it's going to be a very interesting character. I think Yondu is kind of a sleeper character that some of you may want to consider. He's also very easy to obtain. So I think, if I was on a budget, if I was free to play, I didn't have Omega Red and all that, I would be looking at a character like Yondu. Now, if you don't have Cersei, one of the problems you're going to have is you don't have a cleanse. And really, the only other cleanse that I see here is Groot, and that's a problem because Groot is slow as molasses. He is 70 speed, which is laughably slow. We talk about characters like Black Bolt being slow, and they're at 100 speed. So 70 speed is just, he may be the slowest character in the game. I wouldn't invest in him. I wouldn't invest in Star-Lord, Black Panther. She-Hulk's interesting if she's huge, but I doubt any of you made her huge. If you haven't, don't bother. Red Skull could be interesting to bring in for 1 node if you need to get an ability off. Because this special, so he's not super slow here. He still has 85. So you basically have to wait for him. Does he spawn with speed up? No. So you have to wait for him to take a turn. Once he does, he will give speed bar 30%. So he could potentially hurry up a character like Storm, try to get her to her, get her going. You could imagine a team that's all just about having Storm, Magic and Storm, and try to do a lot of damage there. I don't think that's going to be as effective as some of these better teams, but if you have, limited options, you do what you got to do. One thing to remember in Dark Dimension is you can res characters. But, every time you res them, they're going to cost these Dark Dimension health packs, or they will cost, here, if we go here, you could see, there's these Dark Dimension health packs that they would cost for a res, or we can't see them here, or they're going to cost cores. And so for a lot of you, particularly if you're short on cores, you're going to want to be able to bring in multiple teams. So some of the ideas that I'm giving you here could just help a little bit with multiple teams. Another character I don't think is going to be very useful for you at all is Doctor Strange. I have a big Doctor Strange, and I don't really see him being very useful here. Yes, he can revive a dead ally, but he's very, very easy to kill. Let's just put it that way. So I don't see him being very useful. Don't see some of these at the bottom. I think Yondu's a sleeper choice. Multiple mans, many of you will just use because you have him big, and he will spawn dupes that distract the enemy, so I get that. But for a lot of folks, some of the bread and butter characters are going to be these ones that are useful elsewhere. Omega Red, Cersei, Miles, Scarlet Spider, and then some other fifth character, whether you're throwing in your multiple man or using Shuri, who has value in raids, or you're going to try to bring in Storm every once in a while to nuke. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you've got comments or questions, you have your own ideas for Pocket Dimension, put them below or go to my Discord. We're going to have some great conversation about Pocket Dimension there. You can also go to my Twitch stream, which is linked below. And hey, please support our channel by clicking the link below to buy Amazon coins. That supports the work we do.